Welcome to the BPN Insights Podcast. I'm your producer, RJ Malik, and today, Chip Kispert sits down with Rich Walker, CEO and co-founder of QUIK, the industry standard in forms automation for financial services. Rich has spent more than 20 years solving the paperwork problem in wealth management. And today, Chip and Rich are talking about how that world is changing fast. Chip, take it away.
RJ, thank you so much. I appreciate that intro. Rich, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here today.
I'm loving you being here as one of my dear friends out there, and I don't get to talk to you enough because you just make me smarter every time I chat with you.
Well, thanks.
Well, hey, I'm going to jump right in because we only have 20 minutes here or so. You and I have talked about wealth management quite a bit, obviously, given we're both in the industry. I'm going to get right to the point. Wealth management has been talking about fixing the back office since I've been in the business, over 20 years. And most of the firms are still struggling with this based on the conversations I'm having every day. And a lot of them are buried in kind of this paperwork, this disjointed workflows. You know, you've been in the room solving this problem. So what do you see about the industry right now, and where are we going?
Yeah. Could we just remove all the risk and regulatory and compliance stuff? No, of course not. This is money we're talking about. It matters to people. Chip, I want to bring up something that people don't really think that much about. I think a lot of what firms are focused on is after the fact. How do I handle errors? How do I handle the compliance surveillance and the overview and oversight and the workflows of multiple checks and balances? So it's always, hey, we started a process, we started opening the account, now I've got to review it, now I've got to perfect it. You know what we're not talking about? How do you stop the problems all the way at the beginning? Where is the source of data coming from? And this is really where QUIK is living. We are the place where the forms get filled out, the data is being collected and put into the system to begin. And the better you get at that, the better your downstream systems become. And so part of the vision of QUIK is actually to give people back their privacy, give them back their data. And I think this goes all the way to the end investor. I have been a client. My social shows up on a form. It goes to my advisor, their assistant, the branch office, the home office. 18 people have seen my social. Why? And so I believe that we could get to a point where technology can manage that information, you can collect it better from the end investor, hide it, mask it, and only expose it when necessary, but also validate it up front so that you're not doing downstream checks and balances later.
Absolutely 100% behind you there. For many firms, you're kind of working in the background.
Yeah.
Right? You guys help folks, and you're kind of the unsung hero here. And you know, as you're looking at the industry and where it's going, yes, we want to protect that. But you know, what do you see kind of moving forward? And you know, as you look at things you're involved with today, you know, what pops up in your mind that, hey, this is going to make everybody's life easier and more secure?
Okay, I don't want to claim AI. Okay, I don't want to claim AI, but
I'm staying away from it for now.
But here's the opportunity. Artificial intelligence is creating compression of time on a lot of different functions, especially software development. And as that gets better and better, you now have newer opportunities to reinvent yourself. So you started this conversation by saying there's so much complexity in the back office. Everybody's doing all these different things. And I thought, man, that's because there's 18 different systems inside the tech stack at one firm, permutated by how many types of software out there. I mean, it just becomes untenable. And I see a lot of firms now saying, wait a minute, what if we could reinvent ourselves technologically speaking? And I love seeing some of the new entrants in the marketplace where they're AI first, because they're giving people that opportunity to reinvent it the way they see it, the way they want to operate it. Not every feature is necessary for every customer. And so even here at QUIK, one of our initiatives this year is I've put out the question, what if we were starting our company today? What would our technology look like? And I don't mean the end customer, I mean internal. What would our data structures, what would our workflows, what would our internal systems look like? And so we will actually do this because of AI, Chip. We will actually go 100 times faster to rebuild our entire system over again. And I have the ambition of thinking we could completely reinvent QUIK from the ground up in the next 6 to 12 months.
Of course you do.
So why can't everybody else in the industry?
Of course, I'm looking at it and saying, hey,
It's
easy. It's no
just AI.
problem.
No, it's not easy. It's
No,
not easy.
there's so much complexity. If you look at the industry and so many moving parts, and I'll add to that, so many legacy systems that are just huge roadblocks.
That's what I face. I mean, we're a 24-year-old company. I have systems that are running from 2004. And I'm not saying like, oh, wow, they're broken. They're actually really good systems, but they now have become monolithic. They become slower in terms of how we can move forward and develop with them. Modern architecture design has changed. So I think a lot of companies have the same opportunity over the next 2 to 5 years to completely overhaul their systems and think differently about how they operate so they can actually be more compliant. They can be faster. They can be more secure.
And I agree with you. And it was interesting because you referenced a couple, the new entrants into the marketplace. And the ambition there is unbelievable, right? And the
money behind it.
I forgot. Didn't think about that. But I find it interesting because many of these firms that are coming in love their ideas, love their interest, all that. Sometimes do they know the business well enough to truly fit in?
Yeah, that's a hard part too. I haven't been here for 24 years because I don't know the business. I've learned this business the hard way. And we've worked with plenty of people who've brand new to the industry, 3 years in, 2 years in, they just don't know how to communicate. One of the things that you have to learn is that this is a relationship business more than any other industry I've ever been in.
I can echo that.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time. But look, I can also turn this back to the customer because I think the customer has a duty in selecting software to help educate the vendors and partners they're working with. Because it's impossible for me. Look, I'm going to admit something. I was on a call a week ago and somebody said, hey, Rich, are you guys fully prepared for the new Reg SP changing coming up in 2 months? I'm like, what change? What do you mean? Oh, great. Yes, we are. Thankfully, we are. But I can't keep ahead of everything. It's impossible because I'm so focused on innovating. So I want customers, and I love my customers. They do this with us. I love it when they partner with us. And I want to encourage that because, yeah, this might be a new entrant into the market, but these guys are smart. They're doing things nobody else is doing. So help them succeed. Why not?
And I 100% agree with you. And it's fascinating in the role kind of we sit in, where we see providers and we see wealth firms and even their customers, that communication isn't the greatest. Like I'm giving updates on functionality and the like to the wealth firms. And it's just interesting how the information flows. The other piece that I look at is, traditionally, we've almost gone from the home office out, and we haven't been going from the customer back.
My gosh, I don't think I've heard that articulated that way. And you're 100% right. And this goes back to 2003, 2004, when we were launching our first products. And I was saying to a broker dealer, we're going to save your advisors so much time in how they handle paperwork. They're like, we don't care. That's their job. Like, what do you mean you don't care? They're the ones making money for you guys. Like, you need to give them time back. And I've seen that shift, Chip. Yep. The industry has come around. They're now saying, yes, how do we give the advisors more capability, more frictionless work? How do we make it easier for everybody? I love it. I love seeing this transformation, but it's still not everybody. We need to see more of it.
It's not everybody. And, the cost of fintech gets in the way. It's not cheap. It's not cheap to do these things. So,
can I get on my high horse for a second?
Please.
I have a friend who's really, really well connected in Silicon Valley, and he said to this a year and a half ago, he said, SaaS is dead. AI is going to kill SaaS. But what he actually turned around and said, it's not the SaaS, it's the pricing model.
Yes.
How do you justify $150 a month per user for some product? I mean, look, even my own products that cost certain numbers that are seat-based, user-based, I can't say, hey, this feature is worth $2 and this one's worth $5. Nobody can do that. So how does anybody pay for subscriptions? I think it needs to be usage or outcome-based.
You and I have had this conversation over the last couple of years quite a bit. Quite a bit. I'm right there with you. I think that the pricing model, it's just kind of assumptive at a seat license. But you have some folks that use it a lot, and you have some folks that use it maybe once a month. Is that fair? Is that equitable?
Well, look, there's a caveat to this. When I sign up a user, I had a cost of acquisition, and I have a cost of onboarding and a cost of ongoing service. So if they only use it one time a month and they pay for $1 per usage, I'm never going to make money. So it's not feasible. There has to be a balance of sorts. But when you do it at scale, it works. So anyway, I just encourage more companies to think about outcome-based or usage consumption-based pricing because I think it's more fair for everybody.
I'm 100% behind that. And, you and I have talked about it. We try to build it into the models we work with our customers on, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I loved your comment, by the way, about broker dealers and RIAs now kind of seeing the light of actually enabling more productivity from their advisors. Last week, we hosted the RIA Roundtable, and that conversation was front and center, absolutely front and center, because they all want to grow. They want organic growth. Well, when you're spending, 22 hours per week on administrative and back office tasks, that doesn't leave you a ton of time to be able to do that relationship building, that prospecting. And so this is a super important line of thinking.
It is. It is. A fun fact story. My mom's advisor uses QUIK. She gets our forms.
Love it. Love it.
She's getting more of his value and time, not paperwork.
And you got to love that. You got to love that. You guys have been in the business for a long time. You and I have known each other for a long time. Let's get a little bit technical from the standpoint. Walk me through at a high level, what happens when a firm puts QUIK to work in your eyes? What does it look like for the advisor, the ops team, even the client?
Sure. Look, I'm going to admit something. Probably more than 90% of the users of QUIK don't necessarily know it's QUIK.
Right.
It's white labeled. I mean, really, our sweet spot in this industry is bespoke systems where, take Edelman Financial Engines, for example. They're one of our clients. They needed a bespoke system on Salesforce to drive how they want to do their work. And so they need a solution like QUIK that can plug in and enable how they see their world and how they see things flow. So it's actually kind of hard to say how does it all impact because there's so many different ways it does impact and so many different flavors. I'm constantly surprised when I see a customer's implementation of what they did. I'm like, what? You did? Wow. Yeah. And it's really incredible. So you have a lot of different experiences out there, in fact. But for the most part, what you hear is, oh my gosh, my data is actually flowing from one place to another. Mm-hmm. QUIK is that bridge of paper's a dead end, right? Yeah. Forms are a dead end. So if you can make that data all the way flow from beginning all the way to end through signature and back into the transactional system. So we're seeing customers completely streamline their process. They go from hours to moments to real-time transactions, or days and weeks it used to be, down to real-time transactions. We see more retention of customers and advisors at these firms. I was talking to one of the firms, I'm not leave them nameless, and I said, are you guys actually losing customers when an account can't get opened in time? They're like, are you kidding? Yeah. We get advisors screaming and yelling at us because we didn't open the account in time. And why? rejections, errors, bad forms. I mean, that's honestly, that's what it is. It's not, oh, you weren't licensed. They know they're not licensed, so they don't sell that product. It's because the forms didn't work. And so when they get QUIK in there, we reduce that tremendously. There's a lot of other facets that go into this, as you know, the data collection part with CRMs, the compliance part on the back end. There's so many other pieces. I really think of QUIK as this one little part of the puzzle, a fundamental part, but this is why it's white labeled. Like, nobody cares what actual form they're filling out. They care that it works.
But I also think you guys bring data hygiene to the conversation, right? You help these advisors gather information more directly. You know, the systems they're using are going directly to the customer, where the customer's filling things out. And just the ecosystem framework of, you know, you're over, you know, almost 50,000 forms, and, you know, your 1.2 million fields, all that. And then the accuracy of it, right? You guys are really helping with data hygiene, which when we go into a lot of firms, it's not very good.
I appreciate you saying that, Chip, because there's a couple of points to that. One is, a lot of people don't realize the purpose of their data until they have a use for it. And a form is a great use of it. So they say, oh, I should put it in the right place in the CRM or the data system. And vice versa, getting it off into their other systems. They want to call APIs and open accounts directly at Fidelity or Schwab. How do you do that if your data is not structured? So yes, we give them that data architecture, but there's something else I want to point out. QUIK is actually sitting at the forefront of both enterprise standardization, meaning how do you standardize your process and your experience, and risk and compliance. Because the form is one of your biggest risk of how data is flowing. Right. And it's also one of the highest leverage points for compliance. And so we're sitting in the middle of that, giving this really finite data structure, which, by the way, is over 3.7 million fields now.
Sorry.
I didn't know this until a month.
I got old data.
No, I honestly didn't know this until a month ago. I was like, oh my gosh, it's grown again. I didn't even count it for a couple of years. Yeah, so it's a fascinating thing, because we're really helping customers have a governance infrastructure by controlling their forms. And how many workflows depend on forms?
Most of them. Most of them.
A lot. I mean, businesses run off this stuff.
All right, I'm going to shift to a question that I don't normally ask, but you're so thoughtful and forward-looking that I'm going to ask it anyway. So let's go back 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So that puts us in 2020, 2021, coming out of COVID. What didn't you see coming that has most changed how you think about QUIK and the clients you serve?
Honestly, it's AI. It's generative AI. I started playing around with the real AI tools that we see today in early 22. And this is before ChatGPT launched. And I started seeing these things. And Chip, I have had the imagination and vision of how to completely reinvent QUIK for 15 years. I know how to go paperless. I know how to go formless. And it's not achievable. It's so hard to achieve. The resource expense, the time it takes to design and build it. Here comes AI. And I'm going to admit something secretly. My hobby, like some people golf, some people work in their garden. My hobby for the last 9 months has been spend my late nights and weekends building AI projects.
Right there with you.
And so yeah. Look, I've achieved something that I don't know if anybody else is really achieving. I have achieved autonomous software development. I have built this framework with over 70 agents that work together to take in a specification, a plan, help you build that plan, and then, like a factory, deploy that as software, high grade, enterprise compliant, SOC 2 compliant, GDPR, et cetera, really high quality code that can go into a production system. We're already using it at QUIK.
Right.
It's remarkable. We can do a project in 10 days that used to take 4 people 3.5 months to do. So that, to me, is where you can completely do things new. So it's enabling us to reinvent QUIK, to go from just managing forms and giving you data to actually creating software on the fly from the basis of a form. The question people have asked me for 20 years is, Rich, can you give me TurboTax? I'm like, sure, give me 3,000 developers and only 100 forms. But I have 40,000 plus forms to deal with, and I don't have 3,000 developers, my gosh. So what do? Well, AI has enabled us to actually do this, Chip. We're at a point now where our new product FormStream is going to give customers, instead of a PDF, instead of an HTML, it's going to give them a JSON, meaning a rich data stream that describes the form, and you render it however you want. You want to give it to a voice AI agent and have it talk to you? Great, no problem. I can't be more excited, honestly, because this is transformative for QUIK, but it's going to be transformative for how people build software and put forms into their workflow, and then risk, governance, compliance, control, apply all that to what their actual business requires.
Workflows that kind of self-correct too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible world. This is the most exciting time in tech I've lived through.
I'll be honest, my wife has told me you can't talk about AI anymore because of all the things like, I don't know about you, but I'm getting, kind of that daily summary of my day. I'm getting information on all the wealth techs in the industry. I'm getting those summaries. I'm building, for us, we're building out, frameworks where we can better understand all the different wealth techs out there as well as wealth firms. I mean, somebody's vision is the only limitation.
Yeah, and their ability to make breakthroughs with this stuff and think through it and ask questions. It is so fascinating. I could go on and on about this, and I shouldn't.
Well,
I'm gonna respect your wife.
All right, we're in the finale here of the show. I always love to ask this question, Rich. Who are 2 or 3 people or firms out there that are doing work right now that you admire? And why are they worth watching?
I appreciate that question. So one of the first that comes to mind is Rabi Ramadi. He's the CEO and co-founder of Avantos. If you haven't seen Avantos yet, go take a look. Unbelievable. Now look, in full disclosure, they're a partner. They're providing QUIK to their customers, but they have won massive investment and big customers. Guardian, Vanguard,
right.
Mercer. It's incredible. So these aren't just new entrants like, hey, we got this idea. These are industry veterans who knew how to attack the problem, and they're doing it in innovative ways. A second person I'd actually mention is Alan Thiegason, the CEO of DocuSign. And I have so much admiration for what he's doing because I think he came into a company that was known for one thing, a commodity thing called signature. Right. And I think he actually bet his career on transforming them into workflow and AI and being an entire platform, and they're achieving it. People don't realize it. They don't realize how much they've grown and how expansive their products are. And you're going to see more and more DocuSign-based solutions for wealth management coming very soon as a result of this. I'm part of it, by the way. Hey, we're QUIK. We have to be. We're plumbing. And I'm going to mention somebody I think you know well, Jeff Moore of Valmark.
Yeah.
I don't get enough time to spend with Jeff. I get to talk to him a couple times a year. But I absolutely admire him for putting himself out there, being very progressive. He's the CIO. Like, he is naturally in a defensive role typically, and he is so good about being out there in the forefront of what's going on in this industry. So I love Jeff.
He's fabulous. And like you said, I think 2 of the folks that when I'm learning, I talk to you and I talk to Jeff.
Nice.
So
I didn't realize.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What we like to do is wrap up each show by giving you 60 to 90 seconds for the BPN Insight Flash. So, Rich, I'm going to hand it over to you. This is unscripted, anywhere you want to go.
Wow. Okay. That's tough. Look, I mentioned FormStream, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about FormStream because I think it's actually very transformative. And I don't think people will fully get this. So here's what happens. A form's purpose is to collect data. It's a data collection device, right? And it's so simple to build. But what is actually a form? It's content, title, instructions, section header, section instructions, fields, field layouts. So what we did is we deconstructed the form into all those components. And so now what FormStream does is tell you, here's the order of information, here's what it means, here's how it operates. And you get to decide, do you want to show section 1 and then section 2? Do you want to hide section 3 because you don't have a joint owner? You get to make all these business decisions in tech, super fast, real time. and it works across any form in the world. So now imagine what this means, Chip. Have you heard anybody say, could we just have a standard new account form across the whole industry? I'm going to give you that. I'm going to.
Good. We need it.
And it will always marry back to all the forms that actually can populate. Oh, you want fidelity? Great, no problem. But guess what? We can now do that for change of address, change of beneficiary, withdrawal requests. I mean, it's just standardizing the business now.
Nobody, it's funny when we go out and work with firms, like I am right there with you. Everybody's focused on the onboarding and now the transitions. But I'm like, how about your maintenance? How about your, change of beneficiaries, change of address. I mean, we can go down the list. Nobody takes that into account. And oh my gosh, that's probably the lion's share of work.
It is. It is. I should quantify the transaction volume of that alone, but I haven't.
I would love to see that balance. I'll be honest. I think that would be fascinating.
I honestly think it's more than 50% of the transactions at QUIK. Because more than 50% are single documents, not combined documents, and combined is opening accounts. So yeah, like I said, I'm super excited about FormStream because it's going to make software easier to use, faster to build and deploy. It means everybody can have their own workflows the way they want, and the forms can change any day. Who cares? They just change, and now your workflow changes dynamically.
That's true. That's true. Rich, I want to thank you for being on the show. For anyone who wants to learn more about QUIK or connect with you or, dig into FormStream, where should they go?
Hey, I'm the QUIK Forms CEO on LinkedIn, so that should be pretty fast to find. QuickForms.com is where you'll find me. I do have my own podcast called The Customer Wins, which I've had Chip on there, and I love to talk to people and help them understand customer experience better. So lots of ways to find and connect with me. I hope to talk to you soon.
Rich, thanks again. Have a great day.
You too.
RJ, I love talking to Rich Walker. He is absolutely fabulous. I love what he's doing at QUIK. And just beyond that, he's just a great human being.
Good guy. Yeah. And easy to talk to. I mean, that was a great conversation. I just was hanging out and listening. It was a lot of good stuff.
The
one thing that, there were a couple things that in listening to him, I was surprised at how surprised he was how his clients were using his product. That struck me. And then when he said his hobby is AI now, which makes sense. And then, of course, the last one was, Chip, you can't talk about AI with your wife. That stood out to me, too. So,
absolutely.
No, it's good. Good.
That was good. I like your comments there. I took a couple things away from the conversation, and I'm actually linking to them somewhat. But, in chatting with him, he talked about how wealth firms lose clients that have a bad paperwork experience. And, it really impressed upon me the fact that, hey, really, operations is also a growth strategy. And smooth client experience makes for a lot. I really also loved how when he was talking about the 5 year and looking forward, he really wasn't back 2020, 21, didn't think AI was that fresh on the horizon. And it's been a game changer for them. I mean, they're coding, they're agents. It's really, really fascinating. And then, he's been in the business 24 years. The amount of knowledge that he has, and add to that his success, it's not a coincidence. He's dug it out of the dirt for a lot of years, and they are uber successful right now. And, I love also how, his company's a bit understated, quite frankly.
Wow. Interesting. That's very interesting.
So, all right, as we wrap up, I just want to thank Rich Walker again. It was a great episode for me, a lovely conversation. Before I leave, I want to quote Ted Lasso. Be curious, not judgmental. This is Chip Kispert wishing you well until our next edition of the BPN Insights Podcast.
Thank you for checking out the BPN Insights Podcast, which is brought to you by Beacon Strategies, LLC. For more information, visit beaconstrategiesllc.com. Until our next BPN Insights Podcast, for Chip Kispert and everyone at Beacon Strategies, I'm RJ Malik.